This is a very simple understanding of the three principles. I recently got this insight, and I would like to share this insight with you and with you as well. Um, I hope everyone can see my screen. I hope you can see my screen. Okay. So there is this formless world, right? There's this energy that runs everything. Okay. And it, because it is formless, it cannot be described exactly. It cannot be put into form because it has not been created yet. So, on one side, you have the formless world, and on the other side, you have the world of form. So, the world of form is everything that you can see, you can taste, you can smell, you can hear, and you can touch. So, everything that is in the world of form can is created from the formless. It's always this. So the creation always happens. Something is always created from nothing. And when that something is destroyed, it goes back into the formless. So this is the cycle of birth and death. It can be anything, any object, any human being, anything, any idea that comes into the form, into a physical state, into fruition, has to come from the formless. Now, the only way for this to happen, for the formless to come into form, right now on this planet, we have us, human beings. Anything that has to come into form has to happen via human beings. And if it has come from the formless, this means that this formless energy flows into us. This formless energy, this infinite intelligence is the intelligence that runs our body, it spins our planet, it grows our grass. Basically, it has the answers to everything. Everything that was ever created and everything that will ever be created all exists here. It is an intelligence that cannot be described because it is infinite. It is timeless. For simplicity's sake, I'm just going to call it mind, universal mind, divine mind. You, a lot of people call it by different names. Someone calls it universe, someone calls it God, someone calls it spirit. You can give it any name, but I'm not really worried about the name right now. I'm more worried about understanding what it is. To understand that it is an infinite source, a source from which everything is being created. Everything that you see around you was created from this infinite source. And the only way it was created is via humans. And because you're alive, there is, you know, an intelligence that's running our heart, it's running our digestive system, it's running, it's taking care of this body. It's very clear that we are not in charge. As humans, we are not in charge of all of these systems. It is being run by an energy, by some sort of an electricity for our body. And that is, of course, from the mind. Now, the way we get information from this mind, there has to be a way for us human beings to receive this information. So, we have something known as a brain. So, this is a brain that each human being has. The way the mind communicates to us is using another gift, the gift of thought. This is the second principle. The gift of thought is not exactly thinking, but what that thinking is made of is what I'm talking about. Just like how hearing and seeing is a function, thought is a function. It is I'm talking about the universal thought of which every thought is made up of. Now, from this mind, we get an infinite supply of thoughts. I would like to call it original thoughts, OT, original thoughts. Now, these are thoughts that have never occurred before. Fresh thinking. It's like a new insight that comes to you. Have you ever had an insight and you have no clue where it came from? Well, you had an original thought which was supplied by mind. Now, this original thought is constantly being transmitted to our brain. And the brain is like a receiver. It can receive all these thoughts. Now, the brain is also capable of creating thoughts. Something I'll just call old thoughts, right? Or just thoughts. Because the brain has something known as memory and imagination. So whatever thought happens to the brain can store it. And then using the power of imagination and memory, it can access it. And that's how we do the thinking, the so-called thinking. Right? Whatever thought we have, this the the plain T, these are all personal thoughts. They are personal thinking. They have come to us at one point of our lives, but now it's just been recurring. It's just happening to us again and again. And there are some recurring thoughts, there are some fresh thoughts. But whatever these thoughts are, the source is the brain. It is coming from the brain. Now, just having mind and thought would not suffice. We need another mechanism for us to become aware of the thoughts. And that is our third principle or third gift of consciousness. These are the three principles that create our life, our psychological life. The life that we see in our head, that we experience in our head, is being created by mind, thought, and consciousness. Because consciousness, the responsibility of consciousness is to take whatever thought you have in your mind, in your brain, and to showcase that, to create an experience around it. So if you have anger thoughts, so if you have anger, thoughts of anger, you will feel angry. So the consciousness's responsibility is to make you feel whatever is in your head. And this is how we are creating our experience on a moment to moment basis. This is happening on a moment to moment basis. We think something and then we feel it. We think something and then we feel it. Now, what we are thinking depends on how we are feeling. If you notice, these thoughts, the thoughts that come from the brain, these thoughts will always be about itself. Because brain is a memory device, it's a storage device, it cannot create something new. Technically, it can use imagination and use your existing memory to create a version of the memory, but it will not be something fresh, something insightful. You won't see something with fresh eyes till you're using your thoughts, your personal thinking. Now, no, I'm not saying that this is not useful. It is very useful to have personal thinking. It is very useful to have memory and storage, because you wouldn't want to relearn how to brush your teeth every single time. You wouldn't want to relearn how to drive a car every single time. Life would be very difficult if these gifts were not there. But because we have free will, we can choose to misuse these gifts. We can choose to go into a loop of thoughts about itself. And what this does is it starts a vicious cycle. As you keep thinking about it, you actually create a barrier around your brain. You create a barrier which does not allow these original thoughts to come through. Sorry about that. My screen got disconnected. So, an original thought is giving you a fresh perspective. So, any problem that you have right now, any challenge that you have is a new challenge. It is a challenge because you don't have the solution to it in your own memory or imagination. And the issue is we are trying to solve it using this limited resource. But we are not, when this happens, when this barrier is formed, we do not allow original thought to flow in. We do not allow ourselves the gift of insight to see something new. And just understanding this, just understanding that it is our own personal thinking that is creating a, a delay in solving our problems is fascinating because the gift of consciousness allows us to see what type of thinking is happening. If you're feeling not that great, if you're feeling uncomfortable or any sort of disturbance, you can be very sure that it is because you have indulged in personal thinking. You have disturbing thoughts right now, and your body is telling you that whatever is happening right now is not great. You need to drop it. And the moment you quiet your mind, you go in a meditative state, and even if a little bit of space is is left, your original thought, the gift from mind, will seep in. And you will look at the same challenge with fresh eyes, with an original thinking. Your thinking literally upgrades. Your level of consciousness, you're looking at a problem or a challenge from the fifth floor, and you go to the 10th floor or the 15th floor, and you look at the same problem with fresh eyes. And this is basically how the three principles create our psychological experience on a moment to moment basis. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed it.